Can I trust my mind?
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
Welcome to another episode of Life's Inside Track with Yetta Decker.
And Ken Decker.
Where we're excited to share techniques, thoughts, tools, tips, and even tactics with you so that you can turn our house into a home, families thrive, and we live the best life possible. Absolutely not. You cannot trust your mind.
That's funny, Yetta.
It's truth. Like, seriously, you can't. There's something called the multiple perspective advantage.
But then if I have a multiple perspective advantage, can I not trust it?
No, because you can be thinking at the same time as you're seeing, and so there's some confusion that can take place. You think?
You think I could be confused?
I've seen you confused before. So what are we going to learn in this episode?
What we're going to learn is exactly how you can use your multiple perspective advantage to your advantage. Isn't that cool?
Right. So we have the ability, like our creator was so brilliant. He gave us the ability to be here with you right now and be present with you, because we actually look straight through the camera. So we can see you and connect with you. And sometimes we look at each other so that you're joining in on our conversation and sitting
if you're
around
on the radio, we're
with
looking
us.
right through the mic at you.
Right, exactly. Because we do video, YouTube at the same time as we are doing audio for CHRI and for our podcast. So it's kind of neat. So it's kind of like that. We're doing two things. Yeah, it kind of is. We're doing two things at the same time that are connected, but we're coming at it from a different angle. So
different perspective.
Right.
Right. So this is when you have, that voice going in your head. You're talking to yourself, but then you have another part of your brain that's kind of observing what you're saying and going, that might not be nice to say that or that. It can be that filter when you're thinking something, and another part of your brain goes, nope, don't say that out loud. Right? That's where we get different sections of the brain communicating to the other sections of the brain. It's fascinating.
It is. And so what are we supposed to do about that?
Learn to use it to our advantage. Learn to, don't think you're crazy because you hear voices in your head. You were designed to hear voices in your head. They're your voices. They're your brain speaking. Because even God, when he wanted to create things, he spoke them into existence. Without language, there is no creativity. So our language in our head, when we're listening to ourselves, that's how we create. That's how we check our pulse, so to speak, whether our thinking is stinking thinking, or it's great thinking, or we're in a cycle, we're stuck on something. There's another part of the brain goes, hey, you're stuck on the rinse cycle there. Maybe we should pause that.
Which is really neat. And before I learned this, I would sometimes think I was literally going crazy. Like, there is a little plaque I have in my office upstairs that says, I'm out of my mind. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And it wouldn't always be 5 minutes. It would sometimes be a little longer than that. So knowing that I wasn't going crazy, that my mind was actually protecting me and giving me access to information I didn't otherwise have access to from another part of my brain. So they work together to keep us moving forward and getting access to information we otherwise wouldn't have had access to. And an amazing author where we learned a lot of this information. I love sitting at her feet quite a few years, 10 years ago, maybe I sat at her feet for a week and learned. And that is Dr. Caroline Leaf. She has written a lot of books about the multiple perspective advantage and incorporates them into her programs. And I did her program for over a year. And it really helped rewire the thinking, as Ken referred to a minute ago, that was stinking thinking, and learn to use my multiple perspective for my advantage.
And if you're thinking, maybe sometimes your thinking's a little off, and it can be caused by environment, it can be caused by illness, it can be caused by food intake, it can be caused by lack of sleep. There's so many different things.
Or lack of water even.
That can affect our brain. Yeah, our brain runs on sugar and water. So why not jump on our website, doubledecker.life, and check out our 31 life step journey. It helps bring clarity to mind. It helps bring clarity to body, soul, and finances. And it really helps to give a life exponential.
Absolutely. And so digging into embracing. So the word I came up with was embracing what your brain is doing rather than thinking that you're losing your mind. Like, embrace the fact that you got another thought that can help you process what you're about to say, right? Or even what you're saying, so that you can backtrack. You can't really squeeze words back in, just like you can't, squeeze toothpaste back in a toothpaste tube very easily. And yet your multiple perspective advantage can stop you from going out too far and getting into trouble.
That's true. And yeah, so be aware of this. In your next few days, think about when you actually think about what you're thinking.
Right.
Right? It's like, or you're listening to somebody and then you say, ooh, that you're still listening. And yet your brain is picked up on something, or it's off on a little tangent, or maybe it's directly connected to what your person's saying. And it's formulating how you're going to speak next. And one of the things that we learned from our speaking coach was that as you develop your brain and what you want to say and how you're going to say it and being present with the person, you actually get mastery by stopping thinking about it. You know that saying, you're in your head? And that's why you can't remember something. You can't remember a line because you got in your head. You're thinking about what you're going to say as opposed to just letting it flow.
Right, so letting it flow. Have you found at times, we'd love to hear from you, and have you just share when you have allowed it to flow, and what other methodologies have you embraced or dug into that have helped you keep your brain clear? Because the whole point of this conversation isn't to confuse you, because I have a feeling we might have done that a little bit. That's why I recommended you give Caroline Leaf's website, and it's Leaf as in Leaf, website a checkout, because she goes much deeper. I mean, there's books and books and books that she's written on it. And yet it gives so much clarity when you can actually look at what you're saying and think about what you're saying at the same time, because we want to be present with the person we're with.
Yeah. And it's not just what you're saying out loud. It's what your brain's saying inside. What's the chatter? You see those little cartoons where there's a devil on one and an angel on the other, and they're talking to you. That's your multiple perspective. Your brain has different stories going on at the same time. Maybe you've had a dream. When you wake up after a dream and you feel like your heart's racing, if it was you were chasing somebody or something, and it's amazing how your emotions are affected by even your dream life, because your emotions are all attached to your thinking.
And so digging back in and recalibrating, those dreams have thrown me off more often than not. Poor Ken doesn't know what's come at him. I'm angry, I'm upset, and really it was just a dream, but it shifts. And so I have to use my multiple perspective advantage to get back into reality.
So once you know something, you can't unknow it. So it's interesting. Yes, you can forget stuff, but once you know something that's going to change your life, or has the ability to change your life, you can't unknow what you just learned.
So we're grateful to be your partners on the journey, moving forward together.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.